Hi, my name is James Shea, and this is the VA-45 Virginia. She is the third iteration of the series of ship I have been building. It's a light class freighter, as is represented by an incredibly large cargo hold and really small everything else. The main intent for designing this was being able to carry a large team of fighters as well as larger ships such as this one. This one in particular docks back here using a folding wing system and a retractable, if you can get your camera in there, a retractable setting system for the ship to land on. It fits right inside like this and sits.
Perfect. So you can dock right in the ship that way.
Yep.
Okay.
Another ship which is built very similar to this are the hang fighters, which is something I've been working on for a little over 2 years now. Those are these two. The intent with this was to make it a bit more realistic if possible. So the fighter itself detaches, but one day I hope to motorize this. The system here is that these doors can open, and then this bottom part, which acts as a pilot seat, can be pulled out so that if it were a real sense, this could be withdrawn and the pilot could be pulled into the vehicle to load and unload.
Yeah, it works well. That neat feature there.
Thank you. And one of my favorite parts of building in LEGO in general is the minifigures. They've been a big part since day one, and now I'm having fun with it.
You're gonna have your whole army here almost of guys that man the ship.
Mm-hmm. And another thing which I like to do in my free time is sometimes base minifigures off of people who work closely on this. And as many of us here have sig figs, or signature minifigures, this is mine. And then over here is a good friend and fellow worker of this program, Daniel, and his figure is, if I can stop knocking them over, this one.
Very cool. There you go. So you got kind of all your sig figures in there with the rest of the minifigs. I like it. Yep. So can you talk about the ship, kind of the structure then, and when you first started building this, how did that work? Did you build it in sections, or?
So, when I first built the Virginia, it was, I'd say, a little smaller than this segment, this hangar bay, and it was maybe about this tall. The only feature which has stayed the same, and the design which has stayed the same, is this over here, the bridge. And as it has evolved, it's evolved slowly into a large block, which just last year it was very blocky. It looked something about, again, as big as this hangar, now the same height, with this attached to it. And I decided that for this year, what I wanted to do is I wanted to build a ship that was not blocky, that was angular. So the design process involved building 3 different segments, the front of which I can take off a little later, but the second of which is locked in by this and thus would be a pain in the butt to try to move. But it was built in 3 individual segments for the sake of transport, and each of those segments had the same structuring, internal structuring of white 1x bricks, and then paneling using 16x16 and 4x6 bricks, as well as decorative 2x2 oranges. Now, if you want to bring the camera over here, I can show you how this disassembles for transport. There are a few locking features here and there, which need to be removed. But after those are free, it just slides right off. It's held in place on here by 2 Technic pins.
Yeah, perfect. And that way it's easier to move around and everything when you have it in different sections.
Yeah. Also easier to get into the inside when something inevitably breaks.
Okay, yeah, very, very impressive. Do you know how long this whole thing is?
How long? So I typically do measurements in the large 48x48 base plate, and this one is just over 3 of those long. So it would be just over 130 something studs.
There you go. Well, that's very impressive. So I think this turned out really great, and I like the white and orange color is very cool. Nice contrasts. The orange contrasts nicely with the white. So then Any more plans in the future for large ships like this?
Yeah, that's just sort of a joke that I was so awed by the Aurora when I first began building that it's sort of been a joking goal of the Virginia series to be larger than the Aurora in end. But really, I just want to keep building, and it is my goal that whatever I build can truly inspire someone else to start building in the sci-fi theme, because it is truly somewhere where you can really bring out the creativity and build armies fighting against or with bugs, armies, peaceful space stations, monorails. I mean,
Some of everything.
yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. I like that. So very cool. Thanks for talking to us about the build.
One's called the SSV Virginia.